the most news in the morning. CNN's American Morning, weekday 6 a.m. Eastern.
So the Tea Party had so much momentum for a while, and there's some new polling out, including in Alaska, where Lisa Murkowski, who was the GOP nominee, she's a senator, and everybody thought she'd just sort of sweep to winning again, and she got ousted by this Tea Party newcomer. Now the polls, as a write-in candidate, have it tied up a bit. What's going on?
Look, I think what's happening is there's no question that all politics, as Tip O'Neill said, is local, but the backdrop is the enormous anger and frustration the middle class is demonstrating. But how that plays out in individual races, whether it is Murkowski coming back as a write-in senator, Christine O'Donnell, nobody thinks will be able to take her primary victory to a general election victory in Delaware. In California, the Democrats are ahead in both the gubernatorial and the senatorial race. So the tidal wave may be slowing down a little bit, and what was very much a Republican Party fringe movement, which with some roots into the middle class and the mainstream voters, may not be enough to carry the Republican Party all the way.
We'll see, though, because if you look at who, in one of the latest polls, I think it was a Marist poll showing who's the most enthusiastic, it's male Republicans. 48% of them say they're extremely excited to vote.
There's no question the enthusiasm, the energy, the anger is there in the Tea Party. The question is, how far does that go? And is the sort of larger mass of middle-class voters saying, yeah, we understand that frustration, but frankly, folks, the candidates you're giving us are not people we want to vote for. You know, Christine O'Donnell sort of got to that tipping point where a few things in her background, which you can kind of forgive, maybe went too far. And a few of the tapes, you say, okay, fine as a protest candidate, not for the United States Senate. So I think that the texture of what emerges in November is going to be much more subtle than the tidal wave that we saw 2 or 3 weeks ago.
And I don't know if you're seeing this, but when I talk to some of my friends, they're not necessarily caught up in the Tea Party wave, but they are worried about these pocketbook issues, and that is why. So they're not necessarily energized by a particular candidate who's very right socially.
Here's what's
but
going on.
They're worried about the economy.
In my view, the Tea Party has captured the anger of the public, but it has not given people answers that are meaningful. So the opportunity is still there for the president and the Democratic Party, if it steps into this breach, to say, here's what we believe in. I think the problem the president has had is that he has not explained with any clarity what he has done and why. He's now beginning to pivot back to that. And that's why this reemergence of Bill Clinton, of course, you know, we all have this enormous recollection of Bill Clinton, the great communicator, and he was and is. He is the one who's out there saying this is what it's about. He empathizes, he connects. So I think there is that void there that perhaps the president will step into.
The other interesting thing, though, is when you look at this latest poll, which really caught my attention, the CNN opinion research poll done last week showing the country would be better off if Congress was controlled by Republicans, 38%, Democrats, 27%, and there are a lot of people who believe no difference. But when you talk about not doing a good enough job showing what they've done, is it a good idea to get out of Dodge, leave early so you can go
Congress cannot
go to your local district?
Yeah, but Congress can't reclaim its reputation between now and the election. There is just sort of venom and anger directed towards Congress. Nobody thinks they've been able to pass a meaningful bill in many, many years or confront education issues, healthcare issues, energy issues. None of the major issues have been addressed meaningfully by Congress. The question is, does that attach to the individual legislator at home? We all hate Congress as an institution, but yeah, our guy we kind of like because we know him or her. And so there's this bifurcation. The question is, how many members of Congress will really be ousted and thrown out? That question we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, that's a big one. Also, the governor's races, some of them getting pretty ugly. In New York, Carl Paladino, who is, again, a Tea Party candidate, we interviewed him. He's really a fiery guy. He got into it with a longtime New York Post, you know him, Fred Dicker.
Sure, absolutely.
And it was all of this periphery back and forth over, you know, allegations of infidelity, loved children, and all of this stuff. It ended up getting really nasty yesterday. And take a look at the video.
You've done another one to my daughter's house, and I'll take you out, buddy.
You're going to take me out?
Yeah.
How are you going to do that?
Watch.
What are you, threatening me?
Hey.
I mean, it just really seemed to, it looked more like a reality show than...
Or something out of Hollywood. I mean, this is like politics the way it was enacted 40 years ago, the imagery of the back room screaming and check. Look, this is not what we need right now. And I've been in politics. It can be dirty. It can be ugly. Like many parts of life, obviously. What we need right now is a serious conversation. In New York State, we spend more per student on education than just about anybody in the nation, but we're not getting the results. What do we do about it? I'd rather hear him answer the question, have you seen the movie Waiting for Superman, which is a remarkable insight and window into our education issues? How do you react to it? Agree with it, disagree with it? Let's have a conversation about education, how we're going to become competitive, how we're going to create an innovation economy, how we're going to get our kids to the place where they can be suited for the jobs we need to build in the future. Let's get politics back to that.
Yeah, but it's sort of slime the other guy, in these campaign ads, these nasty ones that we're seeing everywhere, as opposed to focusing on issues. But unfortunately, that's been shown to work.
Unfortunately, it works because when you have somebody like Carl Paladino, who was not known to the public until 3 weeks ago when he out of nowhere won this primary, suddenly his image is at the vortex. Everybody's going to be screaming and shouting about who is he, digging into his past. He's not going to become the governor of New York. Andrew Cuomo, I can say with some confidence, will win the race, and Carl will then disappear, which is why I think it's too bad that we're not using this moment to have a real conversation about what the policies should be to bring New York State back to what it used to be, the Empire State, center of innovation, finance, et cetera.
Well, we'll see. Let's talk about your show coming up, by the way. It's starting on Monday.
Starting Monday night.
It's exciting. Parker
8 p.m.
Spitzer.
It's going to be great. It's going to be fun. Kathleen Parker, Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist from the Washington Post. We're going to be talking about everything from economics to politics to culture, things that matter to people. This story today about this awful story about the Rutgers student who was driven to suicide. But what does that mean about privacy and the invasion of privacy, the inability for people to lead a life without everybody staring at it? What has happened to our society? Is this Orwellian 1984? What do we do about it? So the entire gamut of issues with amazing guests. We're going to have fun. Sparks will fly, and it's going to be fun. A lot of laughter and a lot of serious conversation.